Appeasement. The policy of making concessions to the dictatorial powers in order to avoid conflict governed Anglo-French foreign policy during the 1930s. It became associated with conservative Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain. Hitler wanted Czechoslovakia for the expansion of Germany that had already started. In 1936 in Rhineland when German troops moved in, and also in 1938 in the invasion of Austria and Declaration of Anschluss. Then, in September 12 through 13 of 1938, the German Nazis in Sudetenland, led by Konrad Henlein, rebelled, demanding union with Germany, but the Czech government refused, leading Hitler to threaten war. Chamberlain intervened, coming to an agreement of appeasement to avoid a war at any cost. So on September 15 of 1938, he met Hitler at Berchtesgaden to discuss Sudetenland. Without Czechoslovakia there, the British and the French gave Hitler areas of Sudetenland with German population of 50%. On September 22nd through the 23rd of 1938, Chamberlain meets again with Hitler at Berchtesgaden to tell him the news. Hitler has other plans. He demands all of Sudetenland. Chamberlain refuses, saying it's a quarrel for a faraway country between people who we know nothing of. On September 30th of 1938, Hitler and Chamberlain met again at Munich and made the Munich Agreement. Though Hitler was willing to risk war, he soon found out that the German people were not. As a result, he stepped back from the brink and sent Chamberlain a letter, guaranteeing the safety of Czechoslovakia if the Sudetenland were ceded to Germany. The Munich Agreement involved a four-power response. Mussolini proposed a four-power summit between Germany, Britain, France, and Italy to discuss the situation. The Czech government were not invited to take part. Everyone agreed to the Italian plan to cede Sudetenland to Germany and to end Germany expansion. On October 1st to the 10th, Germany finally took over all of Czechoslovakia in 1939. Due to the fear of Germany's expansion to Poland, this led to an Anglo-Polish alliance in case of a German invasion in August 25 of 1939. In times due, the invasion of Poland occurred and began World War II on September 1st of 1939. Hitler would have reacted with a smirk on his face because he knew that the British Army, French Army, and the Czechoslovakian Army were not ready for war. His army was growing and it was strong, and finally it would continue the German expansion. The British were not ready for another war. The post-war effect that World War I left upon the British was horrific. They didn't want another slaughter from Germany, and the Great Depression had also affected their economy. Germany knew that the weakness of the Britons, realized that they would do anything to avoid war to keep appeasement. On the other hand, Neville Chamberlain mistakenly forgot to recognize that Britain was declining in power and prestige. He also failed to recognize that fascism and Nazism were unappeasable. The French also were convinced from their allies, the Britons, to do anything to keep appeasement due to their government weakness. Between 1917 through 1940, France's democracy produced 44 governments under 20 different prime ministers, which led to government division. Hitler also witnessed firsthand the trouble between the various nationalities in newfound Czechoslovakia. That was ideal for Hitler. Hitler would have taken advantage of the Allies' weaknesses to attack on any given day, knowing the Allies' army would be too weak to win. Hitler disobeyed the Treaty of Versailles and began rebuilding of the German army. He did concede with the British to only rebuild his army to 35% of the British Navy. By 1939, Germany had 95 warships, 8,250 airplanes, and an army of 1 million. Hitler had even war tested his armed forces in the Spanish Civil War. Hitler knew the British feared his modernized weapons, especially his bombs that he used in World War I. Hitler and Chamberlain knew that the Czechoslovakia land locked, surrounded by land and Britain's military strength, and the British Navy could not help, though their outnumbering army against Czechoslovakia and its allies, the British and the French. Finally, if the British and the French were willing to go to war, they would have been defeated due to their army's weaknesses. Hitler's overpowering army and technology, and the German expansion would continue. The German expansion would then continue in Czechoslovakia, Poland, and neighboring countries. It would be the early beginning of the World War II in 1938. If Hitler succeeded to do so, he would own much of Europe earlier and be almost invincible.